let's talk a little bit about the mayor of Boston, Massachusetts. Her name is Michelle Wu, and recently she decided that she would hold a Christmas party that was a no whites allowed. It was for electeds of color. No whites allowed. It was not for the white people. It was only for non-white people. That was the Christmas party she planned. She's the actual mayor of Boston, Massachusetts. This is not like, some crazy person ranting on a street corner who says they're the mayor. This is Michelle Wu. She's Harvard educated. You might not be surprised to hear. And the mistake they made in their incompetency was that they sent out the invite to the anybody but white people Christmas party to a bunch of white people by accident. They accidentally sent it. And so she came out and she apologized for accidentally sending the email to the white people. Here is Michelle Wu.
I think we've had individual conversations with everyone so people understand that it was truly just an honest mistake that went out in typing the email field. I look forward to celebrating with everyone at the holiday parties that we will have
separate
besides
parties.
This one as well.
Separate but equal parties.
So it is my intention that we can, again, be a city that lives our values and creates space for all kinds of communities to come together.
This is one of the craziest stories of the year, and it's good. I'm glad we can end the year with this one. Let's go now to Joe Concha. He is a columnist for The Messenger, a Fox News contributor, and the author of the book, Come On, Man, The Truth About Joe Biden's Terrible, Horrible, No Good, Very Bad Presidency. Joe, good afternoon to you, sir.
You sell that book better than anybody I go on with, so thank you. 500 copies, 12%.
It's my favorite title. Honestly, I'm not even joking. It's my favorite title. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Joe,
I wish you could take credit for it.
Joe, let's talk about this Boston mayor, Michelle Wu. So I was just saying a moment ago, she went to Harvard, obviously, and now she's the mayor of Boston. And she thinks that throwing a no whites allowed Christmas party is something that a mayor does. How did that happen?
How did it happen? Well, apparently this has been going on for several years. But the difference this time is that they accidentally sent it to the white folks who happen to be on the city council. They actually make up a majority of the Boston City Council. There's 13 members on that council. 7 are white. They got the invitation. Then 15 minutes later, instead of saying, hey, you know what, why don't we just have everybody there? It's the spirit of the holiday. Bring the city together, unity, all that fun stuff. They sent out an email saying, sorry, this accidentally was sent out to you guys. You're not invited. And they went ahead and had this party that only consisted of blacks, Asians, and anybody who's considered a minority. Now, here's the funny thing, Vince. Michelle Wu's own husband, if he tried to attend this party, would not get past the bouncers because he is a white guy. Right? So the hypocrisy here is overwhelming. And the fact that it's 2023 and we have mayors of major cities socially segregating at this point is insane. And could you imagine, and I'll leave it here, a white mayor of a major city saying, sorry, whites only. If you're black, you're Hispanic, you're Jewish, you're Hispanic, don't bother coming. Maybe just go to the local Arby's instead and have fun. So that's imagine the reaction if we ever saw something like that. It would be 24/7 for 3 weeks.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, and she's got a history of things like this.
Hold on a second. Can you go right here, sir?
Okay, we're waiting.
Yeah. I'm so sorry. I'm going to the city right now to go on Larry Kudlow's show, and we almost missed a turn for the Lincoln Tunnel, which would have resulted in me missing it.
I thought you were going to say you forgot your bulletproof vest and your helmet. You needed to turn back for it. Yeah, no,
I did forget that.
Did you? Oh, man, you're going to make me talk about a different subject. I'm not going to talk about it yet, though. Let me focus on Boston for a moment. So we've got Michelle Wu. She's got a history of saying stuff like this. Here she is at a St. Patrick's Day breakfast. Listen to this.
In just over 100 days, we have connected unhoused residents at Mass and Cass to housing, treatment, and services. We've launched 3 free bus lines. We've taken some big, bold actions, but I won't lie. This past winter was pretty intense. Trial by snow, trial by fire, fighters union. I'm getting used to dealing with problems that are expensive, disruptive, and white. I'm talking about snowflakes. Snowflakes. I mean snowstorm snowflakes.
Yeah, you see the kind of casual jokes here where she's joking about her open bigotry. She's like, yeah, I hate things that are white. Oh, just talking about snowflakes. She's very cheeky. I mean, I can't even imagine. Like, again, roles reversed here. If somebody was cracking jokes about Asian people and yellow and black people and black, and then be like, I'm talking about something else that's black, and it's like, no, that wouldn't fly, dude. Not as the mayor of Boston.
There would be calls for resignation, and rightly so, quite frankly, right? And the fact that she's getting away with this is because CNN or MSNBC, which scream racism every other word, it's like third behind the and maybe but, right? Then race or racism. That's the number one word said on those networks. They barely talked about this. And then when I did tune into Bill Maher on Friday night, they did have a girl named Laura Coates on there that was actually defending the mayor. You know,
What?
So yeah, just like, well, everybody needs their spaces, and minorities should be able to congregate on their own without feeling under pressure from other races. Like, what are you talking? What year do you live in?
So
I
would
just
that
found
logic
interesting.
apply? Would that logic apply to this group that we call white people? Like affinity spaces? Like, so we currently have a U.S. Senator, Sheldon Whitehouse, who has an affinity space for white people. He goes to a club that's exclusively white. They don't let anybody else in. And so is that now allowed? Is that like the standard?
Apparently it is. And I can't get over, just to get back to what she said about firefighters in Boston for a second, because she was talking about the firefighters union. I have to deal with problems that are exclusively white. I mean, so not only is she making a bad racial joke, but you're insulting Boston firefighters who run into burning buildings because the majority of them are white. Then that somehow is a joke. Like, I don't even understand her humor for that matter. But to your point, she went to Harvard, and this is the way these folks come out of here.
For sure.
And they end up running cities like this.
Well,
and it's just a scary time right now if you're a Boston resident and this is your leader.
Well, the other thing about Harvard is that they explicitly do this at school too. They have black-only graduation ceremonies. So
Yeah,
this is
Columbia University did, UC Berkeley did, all three.
yes, and then the left calls this. It's so funny the language they use because it's like so euphemistic for what they're really doing. They call it like race affinity groups and like affinity events or whatever. But what it is racial segregation. It's explicitly. It's just the Democrats of new are the Democrats of old. They are segregationists, and yet
they are.
And but the standard here is that we're all supposed to not say anything about it, just nod along and say that this is progress.
It's just insane, Vince. And I mentioned CNN and MSNBC before. The print pages, also the op-ed pages of the New York Times, Washington Post, but most importantly, the Boston Globe, which is the biggest paper in Boston in that area, and then not one op-ed condemning this. So apparently everybody's okay with this if you're on the left.
They're
Right?
cowards.
It just shows you the hypocrisy. Yeah, cowards is a perfect word for it.
Then of course we also saw this from Lori Lightfoot, the former mayor of Chicago, when she decided that she would only do interviews with reporters who are not white. So no whites allowed was her plan for interviews. And it took a lawsuit against her for her to finally have to be knocked down in court that, no, you can't do that. You can't say that you'll only do interviews with people who aren't a certain skin color. What are you, crazy?
She said, but yeah, only journalists of black and brown skin. I mean, again, we just can play this game all day. What if we had Michael Bloomberg when he was mayor of New York saying, I'm only going to do interviews with only those of Caucasian descent. I mean, they would be calling for him to step down right then and there. And what I liked about that story with Lightfoot was then an Hispanic reporter that was supposed to do an interview with her canceled on her, said, no, this is wrong, and I'm not going to even waste my time doing this. So there was some pushback there. Now Lori Lightfoot is the ex-mayor of Chicago. And you look at the approval ratings right now, Vince, of three major American cities as far as approval ratings of Democratic mayors. Eric Adams in New York is at 28%. Brandon Johnson, the other Let's Go Brandon, Chicago, just got elected just a couple months ago. He's at 28%. London Breed's at like 33%. So it's amazing. All these three of these folks can probably run for re-election and probably win again. That's the problem. Like, these approval ratings go low, but they'll never elect a Republican in any of these cities, and that's obviously a problem when it's a one-party system in places like Massachusetts, Illinois, and California.
Yeah, but there was a survey on this issue of this problem, how pervasive it is. There was a Harvard Harris poll that came out this past week that found something like 70% of people in the 18 to 24 age group think that white people are oppressors and that our society should be oriented towards that viewpoint. And it's like,
wow. And go ahead.
What? No, it's a sign that it doesn't seem like it's going to get better anytime soon. If the youngest generation of adults is already so brainwashed on this subject that they think that racial prejudice and segregation is a normal thing for them to be pursuing.
And that's the thing. You can get rid of all the university presidents that you like Liz McGill at Penn, right, or Claudine Gay at Harvard. No, that is a very, very small part of this cancer. And the Crimson, the Harvard student newspaper, they actually polled professors on campus and asked them, what ideology would you think pertains to you? And 97% 7%, Vince, said either somewhat liberal or very liberal. Less than 2% said conservative. So as long as we just keep hiring the same people with the same mindset and we completely dismiss true diversity, which is diversity of ideas and thoughts and perspectives, this is going to continue.
Yes.
The hiring practices are a whole bowl of wrong already.
And let me, just to dive in deeper on this data, just so people can understand, if anybody who's older than 25, that is the minority view that I just laid out. I'll read the question to you. It says, there's an ideology that white people are oppressors, and non-white people, and people of certain groups, have been oppressed, and as a result, should be favored today at universities and for employment. Do you support or oppose this ideology? Every other age group, by a majority, opposes that ideology, except for 18 to 24. 79% of respondents agree with that sentiment, that racial prejudice and discrimination should be the way our society operates.
Wow. 3 words. Yeah, we're doomed. If this is the mindset of folks that age. And, there's a poll just came out on Joe Biden. It's horrific, just like the most recent polls have been. He's at 34% approval in a Monmouth University poll. But then you dig deeper into the crosstabs, Vince, and you see that he's only at 23% approval among young voters. He polls worse with those between 18 and 24 than any other age group. And the reason why you've seen this huge drop is because so many of them think that Hamas's actions were justified on October 7th, and they're anti-Israel. So that's just, if you want to sleep well tonight, go read that poll and go to a college campus sometime in the Northeast or even in California for that matter, because this is what these kids truly believe. And it comes from somewhere, and it's probably coming from these professors and TikTok and all those fun places. All I know is my kids are going south, way south. Nowhere near Harvard or even Georgetown for that matter. Clemson. I think Clemson sounds like a nice place.
So what do you make of this thing that it came out? It was a leak, of course. It was strategically leaked. That Kamala Harris disagrees with Joe Biden on his Israel policy. That she's much more pro-Hamas than he is. Why would she leak that?
She sees the polls and probably says, "Boy, the left flank of my party," and she is on the very left flank. I know they did a study on her voting record while she was in the Senate, and she was the most liberal of any senator of all 100. So, of course, she's going to align with the squad more. She's going to align with Joe Biden and being pro-Israel. But why would she leak that? Maybe she thinks she really is Plan B, that Joe Biden is going to step down or not make it to 2024. But she's more like a Plan Z at this point. I mean, she actually polls lower than Biden. That's really hard to do.
Right. Part of me thinks it was just to see how much more unpopular she could become. She's like, let's see if we can go for a record here. I'm on Hamas's side now. Let's see what they think of that. Anyway. All right. Well, Joe Concha, good luck with your trip to New York. I know it's always perilous, so we are
I'm underwater as we speak. Yes, thank you.
Take care.
Thanks, Vince.
Good to talk to you. That's Joe Concha over at Fox News and so many other places. And, of course, the name of his book, Come On, Man. I love that.